Joining us now, a couple of former Phi Slama Jama stars. These guys are some of the founding fathers of the tallest fraternity in the country, Phi Slama Jama. Larry Micheaux and Clyde Drexler. Great to see you guys.
Delighted to be here with you, Matt. I mean, we all go way back.
Way back.
40 years ago. Come on.
Oh, wow.
We had hair. Come on.
Exactly. We all had hair.
Look at us now.
Hey, guys, I want to start with the friendships that you forged on the court. You know, we forged friendships because you saw me bugging you all the time trying to get interviews and such, but you guys went to battle literally on the basketball court, and I want to talk with you about that. And let's get into that initially, Larry. Just what it meant to you and what it's meant to you in your life.
Well, it's incredible to play with guys from the Houston area. It's the radius, I say, within about 10 miles. Would you say, Hart?
Yeah, absolutely.
And for Guy Lewis to bring us all in. It was incredible, you know, to get stars from Milby, Sterling, Yakes, and Worthing. So to put that together, and I mean, it's just awesome. Incredible the way, the style we play. And if you look at some of the games now, I mean, we done this back when, you know, it was 82, 83 years.
In the early 80s.
Yeah, so, you know, that it was exciting to play that type of way and then look at the game now, other than now they're shooting threes, you know, and, you know, when we were playing, it was down low and shooting from the outside and don't let the ball bounce more than two or three times, you know, that was our practice. So it was outstanding.
Yeah, your practices were fun to watch. Clyde, the friendships forged, pretty amazing.
Well, first of all, you know, U of H had a legacy with Guy Lewis of being fair to the players excel. He ran the ball, he played up and down, so I liked his style of play. But he also let the players express themselves. So Guy Lewis had a great legacy. And so I grew up watching Larry and Rob Williams, and then Guy Lewis was able to get them, and I'm thinking, boy, if they offered me a scholarship, and Michael Young and I were good friends, you know, what a good team we'll have. And so that's how Phi Slama Jama started, believe it or not. And then a month after my freshman year, your sophomore year, Hakeem shows up. It's like, Guy Lewis, I mean, what a nice little deal. But he was a great recruiter. He was a great coach, and we're all better men because we played for Guy Lewis.
Yeah, he was, you know, for some reason, I never did understand it. There was a bias against him by, I guess, national writers started it and said all he did was roll the ball out. And, you know, he didn't really, you know, he just got some athletes in there, didn't really follow it much. You know, didn't really run anything or any. I was impressed when I came. I came in 1980. And when I first met him, he found out I was from Kansas State, and he goes, Kansas State, they have good basketball up there. So we had this relationship that he knew that I knew a little bit of something about the game, so we always had a great relationship. And Guy V didn't just roll the ball out.
No, Guy was an excellent coach, offensively and defensively. And Larry can tell you, he thought he could teach anybody how to play the post. You know, he was a 6'3" post man, that drop step. And that's what helped the team so much. Had he gone to a coach who didn't think that, it might have been a different outcome.
Exactly.
But Guy Lewis thought he could teach you how to play the post. And if you're tough and if you're going to compete, you can play for Guy Lewis. And if you're not, you're never going to touch the floor.
Well, Larry was tough. They called him Mr. Bean.
He was the toughest and the strongest. Him and Michael Young set the stage for, you know, guys lifting, everyday basketball players being that strong, benching over 400 pounds. I mean, these guys set the standard. They don't get enough credit for that.
That was something different. Everyone didn't do that back then.
No.
Right. But I want to say, you know, from the 81 up to 83, 84, even beyond Clyde and I, if other coaches, if the style that we play, and they said Guy Lewis and have offense and stuff like that, but look what we went to. The Final 16, the Final 8, the Final 4, and then the finalists. even though we lost by 2 points, but we were favored to win the whole thing. So, that was a great accomplishment.
Yeah.
Oh, it was. I mean,
but hold on, can I just say
Yeah.
that's a joke? Just roll the ball out there.
Yeah.
Why come everybody else don't do it?
exactly.
If it's that easy.
Well-
That's those preconceived notions where people just stereotype players, and it's called, I call them the haters. The haters, you laugh at them.
Right.
And then when you're in the final, you're number one team in the country, you're 33-1. What do those haters say?
Right.
Oh, they're locked to win it. They're the
Right.
same haters, right? And of course we lose by 2 points, and now what do they say? Well, he was not a good coach. I mean, it's like you can't ever please the haters, but Guy Lewis knew that. He didn't give a darn. I'll use that word. He had another word for it.
Right.
But he could care less about what people thought.
Right.
He was one of the best coaches to ever coach in college basketball.
Yeah, oh, no doubt about it. He finally got into the Hall of Fame. Way too late. Should have been in years
indeed.
ago. Okay, you brought up the loss to NC State. Does it kill you every time CBS replays one shining moment?
I just turn my head, man. I turn my head because they play it over and over again. And even though some places people remind me, but it's like a fork in the back, I just keep going because, I think about some of the teams that didn't make it to that final.
Right. Well, for me, it's not a particularly bad moment, but it is. We would have liked to have won that game, Matt. But give North Carolina State credit. Jimmy Valvano has raised a lot of money for cancer research.
Yes.
And so they were a team of destiny. I think if we played 9 out of 10 times, it might be a different outcome. But we respect our opponents. They were the better team. They won the game. We got to move on. And for me, one thing I knew, and for Larry too, we knew that was our last collegiate games. It was time to, we were tired of playing for free. It was time to get paid.
I want to talk a little bit about that because I talked with you before when you're in the NBA a number of different times. Well, I even flew up to Portland to see you up there. We had a good time up there. You were. They love you in Portland. Don't they still have Drexler Way or
Drexler Drive?
Drexler Drive. How about that, Larry?
Good.
And they ran out of names. That's all it was.
Yeah, right, exactly. But you told me one time that, and you played in some NBA finals. You've won a championship. You told me one time there's never any pressure like playing in the NCAA tournament. That was the most pressure-packed sports event you'd ever been involved in. You still believe that?
I still believe that because the best teams don't always win. You can have one bad game and that's all it takes. It's not a series. And so you got to make sure you're on point everywhere you go. And in the places you play, you're in the Midwest regionals in Kansas City. You're unfamiliar with that territory. One guy could get sick, which happens all the time. 2 guys can get sick. One guy can get in foul trouble. Anything can happen. And so you worry about all of that. But at the end of the day, you just got to come out and everybody just do what they do.
How did you overcome that stress factor at a young age?
Well, I think when you're young, I think you think you're invincible.
Of course.
And so you don't really think about that.
Right.
But looking back at it, there are a lot of intangibles that have to go well in order to win. I mean, to be the best team, you can get 50 points and 40 rebounds, but if I don't make the free throws at the end of the game and we don't win, you're not a champion. I mean, but some guy who didn't even play on the other team, he's a champion.
Right.
So that's team sports. You got to live with that.
How about the pressure of those NCAA games, Larry?
Well, I didn't feel any pressure because I always just wanted to play and win games. So I don't know, Clyde. I don't know if he felt pressure, but I didn't feel any pressure. I always thought that we was the better team anyway. When we played against Missouri, which was Stepanovic. Then we played against Memphis when Clyde jumped over Turner, and I was handling Keith Lee, and that was one of my best games that we played against. So I actually didn't feel pressure.
Well, you know why? Because Larry's tough. I mean, we came from a system, HISD, that loves pressure. We thrived. Pressure was everywhere. Yeah. But, you know, the reason you're good is because you found a way to overcome that. Right. And it's not pressure. I think because when the games start, that's why you practice. Our thought was always, we think we're the best teams. We're about to show you what we've been working on. So we love it's showtime. It's time to go. So it's not a lot of pressure. But looking back at it, you think about all the things that could go wrong, and sometimes do. Right. I mean, you look at this year's NCAA tournament. Number 1 seeds are just getting knocked out like it's nothing. Right. So just because you're number 1 seed, that doesn't mean a lot.
How about this current team of your alma mater?
Yeah.
This, what Kelvin Sampson has cooking over there, what do you think, Larry? What do you think when you see these guys in action?
Well, it was a scare to me this last game because you had 3 of your best players in foul trouble. But then, you know, they're playing at a top level with defense and shooting the ball very well. I think they have a good chance of making the Final Four.
You know, first of all, we're proud of them because year in and year out they're competing, giving themselves a chance. That's what it takes. But like Larry said, this team has been a good team all year. They're number 1. They've been ranked number 1. And, they, you know, the Final Fours in Houston is not going to be a better opportunity to win a national championship ever, I believe. Right. So they got to capitalize on it. Right. But like Larry said, last game scared me because they won ugly. You can't always do that in the NCAA. That'll come back to haunt you. You got to pick things up, fine-tune everything, and get everyone healthy because this is your tournament. Right.
I've always maintained that your 1983 squad was the best in U of H history. People will argue with me about that a little bit. They went through the Kansas City Regional. They won the Kansas City Regional, and you guys went to Albuquerque for the Final Four. Just so happens the Cougs are in the Kansas City Regional.
Again.
Again. Right. Will history repeat itself? Will they get here to the Final Four, Larry?
Yeah, indeed. I think they will. Outstanding coach. Well, they put things together at halftime. If they down or whatever, they put things together at halftime. You know exactly what the players need to do. They just need to go out there and implement it.
Clyde?
Well, if they don't, it'll be a surprise. I mean, they certainly are favored to do so. And if they're healthy, I think good things will continue to happen. But one thing I like about them, they get after you defensively. And they don't always score. The offense looks a little shambles sometimes, but they get after you defensively. And if they continue that, I think good things will happen.
Even though when they're down in the last few minutes, they know how to put it together. Yeah. Play defense the right way in order to stop the opponent from scoring, and then they go back and score.
Right. But you guys, along with Akeem, tremendous defenders. I mean, I wish I had $1 for every time when Clyde was at UH, I would see him streak for a ball. I'm like, oh, why did they make that pass? This is 2 points at the other end. He'd grab it and just streak down and jam that thing. I mean, and you, of course, were tough inside.
But think about it, Matt. The reason you could gamble is you got him and Hakeem behind you. Yeah. 2 shot blockers, 2 big guys. Right. So I could gamble all those passes on the perimeter. Mike Young, Benny, Alvin Franklin, Rob Wade. We could gamble because they're back there. If they weren't back there, you got to stay solid. But that was the reason. Which made us a better defensive team because we can take away so many options from the other team.
U of H program's been through a lot. You know, you had firsthand experience, but what Kelvin has done, I mean, he has really helped out. Tillman Fertitta has helped out.
Tillman has helped a lot. You know, I'll go back to when I was coaching. We helped endow those scholarships into the future. That's what really helped out. Otherwise, there'd be no program to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
And the people who were there, Chuck Gladchuck, the AD at that time, I mean, they were really keen on making sure that there's going to be a future here at U of H. So, but what has happened recently is nothing short of spectacular. It's a great university. I mean, we have nothing but glowing things to say about it. It's where we came from. We're proud of it, and we're excited for what they're doing today.
Look, you can't just pull kids from HISD back in the day 40 years ago, but I think, you know, Kelvin is pulling local kids. You know, look at Tremont Mark. Look at these guys. That's what I liked. Some coaches have come through there, and well, we got to recruit the country.
No, you got a lot of great athletes in the state of Texas,
indeed.
and if you just recruit Texas, you'll do okay. I think Kelvin has tapped into that, and it's paying big dividends because he's got a lot of good athletes on that team.
I want to ask you about other players. Michael couldn't make it today, but Michael Young, my goodness, what a tremendous athlete and quiet assassin, I called him from the outside.
Michael was awesome. I mean, think about it. A 4-year starter. He was player of the year in high school in the city of Houston at 6'7", about 230 pounds. Awesome. I mean, just, you know, he and Hakeem, I mean, think about it. We had an NBA team. That's
really?
why we were so devastated.
Really?
Yeah, 6'9", 250 Larry Micheaux, who was one of the best power forwards in the game. 6'7", 230 Mike Young, one of the best wingmen in the game. You had Hakeem Olajuwon, the best shot blocker, and could also run and defend anybody. And he even developed, when he started developing that offense, it was over. And that's another weapon we had.
Devastating.
And I wasn't too bad. But,
but
we always had, you know, we always had players like Rob Williams, who's the best point guard in the country, averaging 25 points a game in college. Best point guard, play ball All-American. So he's playing with us. Now think about that.
And don't forget about Reed Giddens.
No, I'm about to say the bench. You got Reed Giddens coming off, Dan Bunce, David Bunce. You got Gary Orsack, Eric Dickens, Derek
Rose,
Giles, David Rose. I mean, you had Eric Davis. You had Lyndon Rose. You had all these guys, man. But everybody developed, and we played under Guy Lewis, who was the central theme in all of this. We all developed under his leadership.
I was asking Elvin the other day. He said the big difference in today's game and our game is we were all big. You just named how large your team was. You talk about the tallest fraternity in the country, Phi Slama Jama. You guys were. So here's the big question. How would you, 1983 team, how would you fare against 2023?
I know that was coming.
Well, you know that's not fair. I mean, we're not biased. Come on.
Well, just size-wise,
it's a different game. I mean, size-wise, it's not even a good matchup. It's over. But I think for the most part, I'm going to give those guys credit and say it would be a good game. The first half.
The first half.
And that's half court. Half court game.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's funny. Who's your favorite player on this U of H team?
Sasser. Yeah, he's my favorite player.
Sasser's a pro. I mean, he's going to be a nice pro. But I think Shed shows up at the best time. For a little guy, he comes up big. So you got to give him all credit. It takes a team now.
Yeah, I really like Tremont, how he came up big. You know, he played point guard at Dickinson, and he had a couple little bobble here and then the other night when they had him go one-on-one all the time, but he stepped up. I mean, that's what you need, guys to step up.
And the biggest stage of the year, when the tournament starts, there's no time for letting down. You got to bring it.
Okay, here's the question. Who concerns you the most in that Kansas City Regional? Oh, by the way, we have another Texas team up there. I think, yes, it's.
Yeah.
What do you think? Who's the toughest? Yes, they're going to start with Miami, but they potentially could play Texas. What do you think?
Well, no matter who they play, it's all about them. They're the number one team. So if they're ready, it doesn't really matter who they play. And so they have to focus on getting themselves ready. And if they do what they're supposed to do, it doesn't matter who's on the other side.
You agree with that, Larry?
Yeah, certainly I agree. There's a lot of detailed things that they need to do, and like make those free throws.
It never changes. We had that issue.
Something about the University of Houston basketball program with free throws. But make those free throws, and I think that's and defensive rebounds. I think that play a big key on them winning.
Yeah, you used to coach, Larry. You know exactly. You coached in high school over at Stafford. Hey, the Cougs made their free throws in the second half the other day. That was huge.
That was the difference in winning and losing. Because Auburn didn't.
They did. Okay,
Right,
talk about free throws. I got to ask you about this. Reed Geddes makes 10 in a row up in St. Louis.
Right.
And he said when Coach Lewis called his name, he's like, well, of course. He said, I hadn't played in 3 weeks. Well, of course Coach would call me. He said, I was so naive. I didn't know what I was doing. But in the locker room afterwards, it was so funny because, you know, you guys, young guys, have seen locker room celebrations, but you didn't have champagne or anything. You were college kids, so I don't know if it was Rob or you, but somebody popped a couple of cans of Coca-Cola and there water and Coke.
Had to be Rob.
Had
to be Rob.
So can you remember the first time you clinched a berth in the Final Four, that feeling?
Well, yeah, that year, which was '82, we were picked third in our conference. Show you how smart the experts were. We were picked third, and so we get to the tournament, and we you know, we had been playing well all year, but our thought was if these teams are better than us, they're going to have to beat us, and they couldn't. They couldn't. They had all the hype, but they couldn't do it. But you know, that's why the tournament is so exciting, because you never know which team is going to show up, who's going to have a great game, who's going to have a bad game. You just don't know. So that's why it's must-see basketball.
Yeah. Because I thought Purdue was going to be in at least the Final 8. Oh.
They did too, I'm sure.
There was no social media back then, and I wish I would have had my camera. I would have been videoing you guys. Larry, now they've got video people in there from the team showing us. That is so cool. When you see that, do you relive that moment when you clinched that first berth in the Final Four?
Actually, I don't even remember. I really don't remember when that moment had happened. What happened in the dressing room?
Yeah, we were kids.
Yeah.
We were kids, dude. We were just excited. I can't remember what happened last week. That's 40 years ago, man.
Yeah. But I know it was a special moment.
Absolutely. That's what you play for.
Yeah.
When you went back a second time, it felt like I got this. Every one of you, I got this. Whoever, and there were some very good teams you went through. So, Shed, some of these guys, Tremont, Mark, they were on that Final Four team 2 years ago. How much does that help them get back to the Final Four?
Well, I think it's tremendous. Experience is everything. Their hunger, they know what it feels like to come up a little short, so you're going to give it everything you've got.
Right. And, it plays a big key with the coach, with the assistant coaches, the staff, to make sure when a player's down, pick them up, and things like that, just to keep that thrush going on the floor, even when in bad times or good time, keep it going like we done back in 1983.
Okay, I got to ask you this. You're Houstonians. What do you think of the Final Four coming to Houston, and what should this city expect? Because it's been here before, but it's coming this year, and there's never been more hyperbole and buildup than for this year's Final Four.
I think a lot of excitement. I can remember back in '82, '83 when we was playing, how Houston was hype.
Number one team in the country.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be a lot of excitement. I can't wait.
Well, it was here in 2011, and the city did so well, they hosted it so well, we got it again. So it's here again in 2023, and I'm sure the city of Houston will turn out and make it perhaps one of the best Final Fours ever. But we'd love to see our Cougars in the final game.
Right. And
that would be
win.
And win, yes. That would be great.
That would be great. All right, guys, thank you so much. Larry Micheaux, Clyde Drexler, they are legendary members of Phi Slama Jama. And thanks for joining us right here on KHOU 11+.